Thank you all very much. Is this on? Okay, good. Have a seat, please. Thank you so much for the terrific introduction. Love you guys too. I'm glad they brought the wall up. I was back in the back room. Remember when I first saw that, how powerful it was. Let's go back in time to August 31st of 2016. You know, in a couple of days, we're going to celebrate or have the first annual commemoration of President Trump's, come from behind victory. At 2:30 in the morning on November 9th, the Associated Press called it. Turned out to be an electoral college landslide, over 300 electoral votes. But the key to that goes back in time. I came on the campaign on like August 14th or 15th. President was 16 points down, 12 to 16 points down, depending on what poll you saw. Basically double digits down in every key battleground state. Didn't have a lot of organization, didn't have a lot of money. Had a message. One of the things that we decided to do was to let the president be presidential. And so we had a plan that would take us about a couple weeks, Jared and I, to put together. And that was to go to Mexico, meet with the president of Mexico, talk about NAFTA, talk about immigration. And then fly to Phoenix, where he would meet the angel moms and address the nation about his immigration plan. Now, we at Breitbart had the great good fortune of meeting Maria, a couple of years before, and having her on our radio show, having the stories up on Breitbart, and really started to begin to at least get the conservative movement and the right wing's attention of how big a problem this is. At the convention, clearly on the first night, we had the Angel Moms, and that was really their introduction, I think, on a national level. But it wasn't until the heat of the campaign, that this became a central focus. People have to remember, the big fight inside the Republican Party and the biggest fight here on Capitol Hill hasn't been taxes, hasn't been Obamacare, hasn't been Afghanistan, hasn't been all these big fights we've had. It's been the central issue of the sovereignty of our country. It was the stories and putting the faces to these stories to the American people that was the key that picked the lock for President Trump's victory. So we're going to go back to August 31st. And by the way, I'm going to read through some names, and I would appreciate if the folks that are associated with the name would stand up as I read this. Is Kendrick Owens here? Rhonda West, can you please stand? Kendrick Owens was, 13? Died. Hit and run. Illegal alien. Christina Pina, father, John Pina. Abducted, raped, murdered. Left in the avocado field. Tessa Tranchette, Ray Tranchette, her dad, and her good friend Allison Crooner. By the way, Christina was 14 years old. Kendrick was 13. Tessa was 16. Allison was 17. Drunk driver, right? Hit her in the back, 70 miles an hour. Is the Shelley Woods mom of Steve Woods and Kathy Woods, Shelley and Kathy, mom and sister. Steve Woods, murdered along California highway, a roller put in his head on a beach. illegal aliens. A couple not here I know. Jamil Shaw II, gunned down, Beverly Hills, gangbanger, shot in the back. He was, by the way, Steve Woods was 17. Jamil was 17. Josh Wilkinson, I don't think Laura Wilkinson's here. Josh was 18. Kidnapped, abducted, tortured, murdered, doused with gasoline, burned alive. Casey Chadwick. Is Wendy Jo Brown? Wendy? Yeah, can you show that photograph? Let me have it. That's the skull of Steve Woods. Is Wendy Jo Brown here? She's there, okay. Mother Casey Chadwick. Stabbed, butchered, stuffed in a closet. Illegal alien. Are Joy and Mark English here? By the way, Casey Chadwick was 25. Bradley English, 27. 5-month-old son, was it? 5-month-old son. Hit and run. Daughter. Hit and run. Illegal alien. Is Ruth Johnston Martin here? Ruth? Officer Don Johnson. Gunned down in a bank robbery, shot in the neck, paraplegic. You guys have just gotten married, right? 12 years? Took him to 12 years. Died. Named Graham Louise Solomon, 93 years old. Beaten, raped, murdered by a 18-year-old illegal alien. Can we give these people a round of applause? Thank you. Chris? No, come on. What is your son?
My brother and his dad.
Your dad? Joe's Story. Oh, yeah, okay. I got it. And there's one more, Joe Story, who was 55 years old. It was 51 years old. Was it hit and run? Was it a hit and run or car accident? And you're the one that was in critical condition? Okay. Thank you very much. We could stay up here all weekend and do this, right? And each of them are heart-rending. But what gets me is, what about their dreams? Why are illegal aliens called dreamers and not them? And by the way, this just doesn't happen. This is not some random law of the universe. This is not the second law of thermodynamics. This is not physics, okay? This is an act of commission. The elites in this country, the economic, the political, and the media elites allow this to happen because they want it to happen. The multinational global corporations want cheap labor, and the progressive left wants cheap votes. This is not a conspiracy, and you are not wingnuts. This is in broad daylight. And if sites like Breitbart and someone like Donald J. Trump had not given you a voice, it'd be totally hidden. why did it, after all these, by the way, many of these happened a long time ago, decades ago. Why did it take so long? Why was this suppressed? Why did nobody talk about it? Why did 60 Minutes and NBC and CNN, they want to run all over the world and show everything that's wrong with America? Why didn't they come and show this? You know why? The victims are Hispanic and black and Asian and white working class men and women, the backbone of this country. If you want to think of the contempt they hold you in, and they hold you in contempt, it's nothing better than the Remembrance Project. Look at this. Is that not like the Vietnam Wall? And if it had not been for your efforts and a handful of journalists like Brandon Darby and Matt Boyle and Raheem Kassam and others, and people like Stephen Miller and Jeff Sessions and Julia Hahn, and finally, Donald J. Trump, who had enough guts. You want to know why I detest the elites of the Republican Party? Where were they? Where was Jeb Bush? Where were all these guys? Bush, the old man Bush in the Sun today got a book out, the demise of the Republican Party. This Republican Party's falling apart. Donald Trump's destroyed the Republican Party. You know why? Because finally folks like you have a say-so. While he's up in Kennebuckport or wherever they are, the other guy down there pretending he's a Texan. You can't take a Brahmin Yankee from Yale and take him down to Texas and make a cowboy out of him. I don't care how long you wear the boots, brother. You're a Yankee Brahmin, okay? Now, here's the bottom line. Here's why it happened. Here's why it's continuing to happen. People make money off it. They want the cheap labor, right? Democratic Party wants the votes. Media is prepared to look the other way. You know why? You guys don't count. If you think you count, you're kidding yourselves. You don't count. You should count. That's the way the country is founded. If you look at your lineage, 12, 13, 14 generations, right? Not your families. This has nothing to do with nativism or racism. It's what you represent. Working class folks, middle class folks that hold our civic society together, coach Little League, build our churches, hold the community together, do the bake sales. You don't ask for anything. Your kids go and serve. And how many people up here are service members? Jamil Harris Jamil's mother was in Iraq when he was gunned down. President Trump, and by the way, this is the issue of why he won the election. This is why he went. This is why he cut like a scythe through grass in the primaries. Remember, they had the 16 greatest guys in the world. Rubio, Cruz, Rand Paul, Chris Christie, Jeb Bush. By the way, it was the finest class of politicians of their generation. He went through it like a scythe through grass. You know why? It's this issue, immigration. Illegal immigration, and also getting our hands around legal immigration. The Republican establishment and the donors didn't want to talk about it. They want to give you some happy talk. Oh, we're going to secure the border. We're going to up security. It's all happy talk, right? The only thing they understand is one thing, and that's the hammer, right? They're in the business of getting reelected. Once you take that away from them, then they pay attention. That's the only time they pay attention. When President Trump, the part of August 31st had two parts. You had the angel moms up there, right? And you had some of the fathers. They had the white T-shirts. People were able to talk about it. President Trump was so moved, as he always is, he would invite people up to the microphones. But the second part of it was the most essential thing for the campaign, along with America finally seeing who the victims were. And that was the 10-point plan, right? So I went back to my notes. Stephen Miller worked on that speech with President Trump. I had a thing or two to do with it. First, the 10-point plan. Build the wall, number one. By the way, the wall being defined in the speech as an impenetrable physical barrier. Number two, end, catch, and release. 3, deport criminal aliens immediately. 4, end sanctuary cities immediately. And number 5, end DACA. Triple the number of ICE agents. Suspend visas without thorough extreme vetting and screening. Ensure that countries that have criminal aliens take them when we deport them back. Have a biometric tracking system for both entrance and egress so we can track at all times. Implement E-Verify and also turn off the magnet of the capitalists that are bringing those people up here to work. And finally, work to get a legal immigration system that makes sense for American workers. American workers. In 2013, the Republican Party almost tore itself apart over this issue. Remember? Okay, when the geniuses that run certain cable networks and ran the Republican Party deemed that the Gang of Eight was something they were going to ram down your throat, the people stood up in the middle of the night, I think it was in July, in the House of Representatives, says, we're not going to do this. Okay? In 2014, Eric Cantor, the first time in the history of the Republic, a sitting majority leader with what, $20 million was beaten by a college professor who had raised a total of $250,000. The day after, they had already planned to have another vote to do a whole nother image. Zuckerberg was back here. The whole crew was back here, right? Going to blow up American sovereignty. And guess what? A economics professor that raised the total amount of money that Eric Cantor spent on one steak dinner about 2 blocks from here with his fat cat donors. The next year, Donald Trump came down the escalator in Trump Tower. He was in, this is why I'm connecting dots here, folks. He was in 7th place at the top of the escalator. That night, he was in 1st place. It was not Obamacare. It was not taxes. It was not the economy. It was not the wars. All these problems we have, and folks, we got a lot of problems, okay? The central issue was our sovereignty. The central issue is what it means to be an American citizen. When he took hold of that primary, he never looked back. The central issue was immigration. If you look at 2016, looking at the pivot point, Hillary was on the beach. Remember, when I came into the campaign, she wasn't even campaigning. She was in the Hamptons raising money. You know why? They thought Trump was going to lose by 25 or 30 points. There's no need to a thing. And what we talked about with Stephen Miller and Jared and all of us was just getting a campaign that was focused on a handful of things because we didn't have any time. We didn't have any money, right? Here's what we had. The greatest candidate in the history of the United States, right? The greatest speaker since William Jennings Bryan. And we had you. We had the Remembrance Project. We had other people that worked day and night on the immigration issue. All we had to do was compare and contrast Hillary Clinton as the tribune of an incompetent and corrupt elite and let Trump be the standard bearer for the people, for change. And the number one change Not taxes, not Obamacare, not all these foreign wars we got ourselves in, strung over hell's half acre. The number one thing was to build that wall, get our sovereignty back, and make sure the people, the citizens of these countries, have jobs and are not being preyed upon by predators from outside the country. On November 8th, you saw the geniuses, all the lead up to the thing. We're going to lose by 30 points. We're going to lose by 20 points. They had the greatest, smartest guys in the world. They had Hillary Clinton. She knew every detail of every policy. You know, she had been to Yale. She'd been here. She'd been there. She knew everything, right? Right? Knew every nuance of policy. Trump didn't know anything. They were dead wrong, right? Have they ever admitted how wrong they were? Right. You read her book. You know, what happened? No. Listen, okay. Didn't we go to the library so you don't have to pay for it? No, but here's the reason you do have to get these books. You do have to read them. They still don't get it. They have no earthly idea why they lost. They don't have any earthly idea, right? Exactly. Collusion. I was there. We couldn't collude with the Trump people in Pennsylvania and the RNC. Yeah. Collude that. No, but here's the reason. And it's a deeper problem. And this is not some crazy conspiracy theory. You know, I went to, Georgetown. I went to HBS. I was a naval officer. I worked at Goldman Sachs. This is not some crazy conspiracy theory. It's in your face. There's a globalist elite in Silicon Valley, on Wall Street, in Hollywood, and in Washington, D.C. Right? You know, kind of the areas right now, if you're watching, all the Weinstein problems are happening in those four things. You know, all these guys are so big on the women's empowerment movement, right? Those elites who are so detached from the reality of American life, they're still detached. And I'll tell you why. Here's why. Look at the race of governors in Virginia. Okay? That's a horse race now. Was Gillespie, he was 8-10 points down? Right? 2 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago, you know, another in 18 for the Senate. Where's Corey Stewart? Is he here? By the way, if Gillespie, I could tell that. You're very rowdy. I could tell that. I didn't even be told. I'm a Virginian too. If Gillespie, who's a Bush guy, right? If he wins, and I do believe that Gillespie's going to win, going to pull this thing out, it's because of the underlying message of Corey Stewart and what he believes in the Trump voters in Virginia that are going to turn out. And what's the issue that's got them wrapped around the axle at sanctuary cities, right? Sanctuary cities. You know why? Because they try to do that bait and switch on you. The politicians can't even answer it, right? Oh, we don't have sanctuary cities, but they still got to play the left. They're okay. I went up to California, spoke to the GOP convention out there a couple of weeks ago. I told them sanctuary cities, now they're sanctuary state, right? That's nullification of federal law. They're like South Carolina President Jackson is California to President Trump, right? South Carolina, 20 years before the Civil War or so, tried to nullify federal law. This is about tariffs. And Andrew Jackson, who's from South Carolina and Tennessee, but was a unionist, he said, not only are we going to implement federal law, I'm going to send the United States Army down there, and I will hang John C. Calhoun unless federal law is implemented. It was. These folks in California, you watch. They're nullifying sanctuary city law right now, right? I said out there, if we keep looking the other way on this thing, you wait 5 or 10 years, they're going to try to succeed from the Union. You watch it. They already call themselves a sanctuary state, right? You can't do that. Cannot do that. Poor Kate Steinle, the murder trial is going on right now, right? Gunned her down in cold blood, right? That's the thing, is that the elites, here's what contempt they hold you in. Think about it for a second. For money and power, right? Is that everything in the world about money and power? Money and power. They don't mind folks coming in that are predators on citizens. They don't care. They don't care. They will hide that information. In FBI reports and all the reports, Brandon Darby was an expert. This Brandon Darby runs Breitbart, Texas. He got to be an expert in looking at the crime statistics and how they buried it that was from illegal aliens. Your own government. You know why? They don't want the word out. Because they understand if the information gets out, that we can win. We'll always win. We've done it every time. So at 2007. When the information's out, the American people don't worry about these polls. The polls that said Trump is going to lose by 20 points. When it comes down to it on this topic, we always win, right? And Virginia is going to show you once again, when the information gets out there, if Gillespie does win, and I do believe he's going to win in an eyelash, is because of folks like Corey Stewart getting that vote out, and people are coming out to vote on issues like, hey, sanctuary cities, right? Trump voters, exactly. So how do we get ourselves and the pro-lifers? Those pro-lifers are pretty tough. They will ring a doorbell, which is what we need. I would like to be able to wave a magic wand and pat you on the head and tell you it's all going to be fine, right? That November 9th, when you win this unbelievable come from behind victory, that all you guys are the ones that won it, right? It wasn't President Trump and his staff. I mean, he was the instrument of it. He's the first to admit that. You know, we were just people trying to pull this thing together and allow the American people to hear what President Trump had to say, but it was all y'all going door to door, getting out the grassroots in places like Wisconsin and Ohio and Pennsylvania, Iowa. You know, states Republicans have never even dreamed of winning or hadn't won in decades, right? But it can't wave a magic wand, and here's the thing. We're in a great struggle for the direction of this country, right? Your issue, I think, is the issue that defines it. But there's many, many deep issues underneath that. You know, this is the great fourth turning in American history. We've had the Revolution. We've had the Civil War. We've had the Great Depression and World War II. We have today, right? This thing's going to go on for a long time. This is another 10, 15, 20 years, right? Before this all gets sorted. And we're going to be one thing or the other on the other side of this. We're either going to be the country that was bequeathed to you, bequeathed to all of us, or we're going to be something radically different. The radically different part is right there, right? Before the Remembrance Project started, before Donald Trump and Jeff Sessions and Stephen Miller and Julia Hahn and Brandon Darby all came along. Look at this. Some of this happened 10, 15, 20 years before that, right? That's what this country will look like. Now, I like our odds a lot. We don't have any money. We don't have the media. You know, we don't have the elites. We don't have the cultural elites. We don't have the political elites. But we got the working men and women with common sense, grit, determination, and decency. So we got them, and we are on the side of the angels. So I kind of like our odds. You know, if you think about it in the last couple of days, and this is what I'm saying, that it's never going to stop, it's never going to go away. You're going to have to do this every day, day in and day out. You're going to have to fight. November 9th is just another day. We got a victory. We're going to have defeats, right? But I know you're going to have a lot more Judge Moores than we're going to have Bob Corkers. We're going to have a lot more victories, right? And it's obvious to everybody that we're going to have to take over the Republican Party, right? Now, the elites in the Republican Party can even do it, can either go the easy way or go the hard way. But they're going. Remember in Alabama, Judge Moore had $2 million. They had $32 million. And here's the key about their money. Here's the key about it. It's not there to argue the issues. They're not coming down here to argue about this. They're not coming down here to argue if this is right or wrong. Everybody knows this is wrong, right? They put $32 million on Judge Moore to destroy him and his wife and his family. Just like they did Donald Trump. Did they debate the issues? Did Hillary ever bring up this? Did they ever bring up this? Did they ever want to talk about this? She ever give a speech on this? She ever want to address this? Right? She ever come and talk to you folks? No? You know why? They can't win on that, right? They just want politics of personal destruction. That's all they dumped on Donald Trump. I think it was, they raised $2.2 billion, $750 million of negative ads, right? But here's the thing that we've proven now. With authentic candidates and a great set of ideas and a message and grassroots folks who are enthusiastic and go door to door, the more money they spend, the fewer votes they get. That's an ironclad calculus. You all have been able to flip in Alabama, and we're doing it, you'll see it all the time now, on this insurgency in the United States Senate, that we've turned their biggest asset, their money, into their biggest liability, right? We've made Mitch McConnell so toxic, right? You can't find, you got Orrin Hatch, you got Heller, you got all these folks. They're not looking for Mitch's endorsement. Yeah, they're running from it. But Mitch McConnell's on TV today, and Paul Ryan was, talking about yesterday. They were over at the White House before the president left. I think it was on Thursday. Senator Cotton and Perdue and some of the other senators are really focused on, doing something on legal immigration. They were over there, and guess what they're talking about? DACA. Excuse me, they're talking about amnesty. All right, they're talking about amnesty. And how they slip it into a spending bill, and then Mitch McConnell's on MSNBC today, a real platform for the right. He's when's he going to come on Breitbart? When's he on Breitbart? Have to talk to Boyle and the folks about that. Raheem Kassam, I don't know if you invite him. He's on MSNBC saying, oh yeah, we're just going to attach DACA amnesty. Democrats want it. Republican establishment, we don't have a problem with that. Okay. Well, he may not have a problem with it, but I think you all have a problem with it. Okay. It's time they finally understood something. If there is amnesty, they're going to get blown out. Okay? We have fought this for years and years and years and years. The American people, and particularly folks in the Republican Party and the conservative movement, have said in no uncertain terms, there will be no amnesty and there'll be no path to citizenship. We're going to have to look and see how many DACA, recipients are on the other side of the, cause this wall, right? Right? They're not all valedictorians, right? By the way, this is not being nativist. This is not being racist. This is not being... Most of the victims are Hispanic and black, right? Nobody speaks for you, right? All these folks around here don't speak for you. This is about American citizenship. Remember, economic nationalism is not about your race, your color, your ethnicity, your religion, your gender, your sexual preference. It's about one thing. It's about one thing. Are you a citizen of the United States of America? If Paul Ryan continues to press and tries to, in the middle of the night, slip amnesty into a spending bill, okay, as night follows day, the Republicans are going to lose the House of Representatives, right? It's so obvious. And if they lose the House of Representatives, you already got a Wall Street billionaire and Tom Steyer up there putting, what, millions of dollars into ads to do one thing. What? Impeach the President of the United States. That's all Nancy Pelosi lives for. She thinks she's got one more bullet in the chamber, right? They've tried to run her out of the Democratic Party leadership. She's not going. You know why? She knows Ryan's going to play right into her hands, that he's going to try to force amnesty down the throats of the Republican Party and the voters in the Republican Party, and break the back of the grassroots and their enthusiasm for 18, and we lose those seats. And after they swear themselves in January 19, what are they going to do? What's the first action they're going to take against Donald J. Trump? It's going to be payback for all of this, right? So this is a struggle. This is every day. And the first struggle, as we often have, is the Republican establishment. Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan. By the way, there are no more games. There's no more slipping this stuff in the middle of the night. By the way, if they talking, I must have missed. Is Raheem around? I must have missed where they said they were going to slip in building a wall into a appropriations bill, right? Where's our wall? Where's that wall? Hang on. I'm going to go back to number 1 of the 10. Number 1 was build a wall. You guys really are the deplorables, aren't you? Until, certain senators would come when I was in the White House, had my thing called the War Room. I had a white wall up, a grease board to put up all the promises President made, and we check them off one at a time. They would come in all the time, these guys, and want to talk about, amnesty and DACA and all that and all these deals. And I said, look, if I even sat here and listened, you'd think I'd have an interest in doing it, right? And I don't, so we're not, right? And they were promising everything, going to build a wall, going to implement the RAISE Act, going to do extreme vetting. And I just said, you know what, there's no need to talk about this because the president's going to build a wall, right? We're going to get all this done. And when we get all this done, years from now, then maybe we'll take a look at what we got. But yeah, this is the key point. And this is going to be in 18, but we're going to have a fight a lot sooner than 18. You're going to have a fight in the next 30 days, okay? Next 40 days, next 2 months, okay? You're going to have it in the House and you're going to have it in the Senate. And they're going to try to hide the football, and they're going to try to tell you they got enhanced border security, and they got 10 times more ICE agents, and they're going to have, this is never going to happen again, right? This is never going to happen again. They're lying, okay? And here's the important thing. You know they're lying. You're onto their game now. So I want to finish on an upbeat note. No, it is upbeat. You know why? Exactly. I used to always tell the men and women at Breitbart, had a saying from Napoleon, when Napoleon returned to his marshals, right, the greatest field army probably in the history of mankind. And he'd tell them, these senior guys are running all the divisions and legions for him, when you set out to take Vienna, take Vienna. That's what we got to do here, okay? No half step, no half measures, only full measures. Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan do not understand something. You guys know how to play smash mouth, okay? If it was not for Donald Trump and it was not for you, he would not be majority leader. You wouldn't have won Wisconsin. You wouldn't have won North Carolina. You wouldn't have won Missouri. Okay? And I go with a couple of others, but I'll take those 3 that made him majority leader. He owes majority leader to you, not to the big money fat cats on Wall Street. This fight is going to be so tough and so nasty, they're going to tell so many lies. But at the end of the day, I'm really glad I'm on your side of the football. Okay. And I want to say one thing in closing. I know, look, President Trump is, I think, on track to be one of the greatest presidents in the history of this country. If he just sticks with the plan, he's going to be like Reagan and Lincoln, Jackson, Washington. I'll even throw in FDR. I know we're not going to agree with that, right? He'll be one of the great ones. Just stick to the plan. But it's not Mark Meadows or Ted Cruz or Mark Levin or Rush Limbaugh or Steve Bannon or Laura Ingraham or Jim Jordan or Mike Lee or Rand Paul or any of it, okay? We're just all jamokes passing through here, right? It's you, and it's what you represent. It's the 12 or 13 generations, right, of working class people and middle class people. That's what you represent, right? You've got tough days ahead of you, but I got to tell you, there's sunlit uplands on the other side of this if we hang together and fight. Thank you very much.
All right, folks. Big hand for Steve Bannon, please.